Amoka sat in the beautiful clearing in the woods, their secret spot. She missed Kofi. She missed their talks, their laughter. She sat there, crying alone, feeling the weight of her father's plans for her to marry Chotochi. Chotochi was a good man, but she felt no love for him. A rustle in the forest startled her. She hopped to her feet, afraid it was a wild animal. She strained her eyes and saw a male figure walking closer. "What are you crying about?" the voice called out, familiar and soothing. "This is supposed to be our special place, our happy place. Could it be? After all this time," she thought. "Kofi," she called, her voice trembling. Kofi stepped into the light, older and more muscular, but something was different. His face had softened, no longer stern and tense. He looked like the 10-year-old boy she remembered. She began to walk toward him, then faster, then she began to run. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks. What was she doing? This was the boy who disappeared in the woods, the teenager who controlled a lightning storm, the man who spoke to no one before vanishing again. Who was she running to? She looked down, then back up at him. His face looked pained. He slowly raised his head and locked those bloodshot red eyes on hers. She was afraid, her heartbeat thumping in her ears. She was too close to run away. He stared at her more intently, as if he could see into her soul. She swallowed hard, unsure what to do. His face changed again. He looked like he was searching for something. A feeling, a memory. Slowly, the corners of his mouth lifted, one more than the other. His face softened as he sensed her fear. All that was left were those blood-stained eyes and a crooked smile. Her old friend Kofi's crooked smile. She walked to him, hesitant, feeling like she was under a spell. She kept her eyes on his face, that smile, those crimson eyes. She stood right in front of him. "Kofi," she asked softly, almost pleading. There was a long pause, and he said, "Yes, Amoka, it is me. You think I would tell someone else about our secret playground? Come on, we promised." Without any thought, she jumped on him and hugged him tight. They both fell backward onto the grass, disappearing in a sea of wildflowers. She playfully slapped him over and over on his chest. He did a poor job of defending himself from the ecstatic attack. "Kofi, it is you. I mean, like really you," she squealed. "Yeah, it's me," he said through that crooked smile. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm always here," he answered. Puzzled, Amoka asked, "What does that mean?" "Every time you come here, I've been here with you, to listen and be here for you," he answered sheepishly. "I knew it, I could feel something, I could feel you. That's why I never stopped coming." Suddenly, the earth lurched. It was abrupt, jolting. They both felt it. Everything looked different. The light hit the leaves differently. The wind felt softer, the wildflowers smelled sweeter. Kofi sensed Amoka smelled sweeter, looked sweeter. And Amoka suddenly felt extremely safe, secure. The feeling intensified if she ever so slightly leaned toward Kofi. They both slowly locked eyes again. Kofi stroked Amoka's cheek. She dropped her head and looked down. Kofi moved his hand to her chin and slowly lifted her head back up. She looked into his eyes again. She no longer saw pain-tinged crimson eyes. She saw her best friend, her confidant. She saw herself. She saw Kofi. And, as if it was the most natural thing for him to do, he kissed her. Her entire walk home was a blur. The next morning, Amoka, feeling conflicted, sneaks out to the forest again to see Kofi. They talk about the past, the present, and the future. Kofi reveals that he's been watching over the village, trying to protect it from a greater danger. The villagers notice more items disappearing, crops dying, and animals vanishing. Fear grows. Amoka confronts Kofi, asking if he is responsible. Kofi explains that the forest spirits are restless, and he has been trying to calm them. One stormy night, the villagers see Kofi's shadowy figure at the forest edge, holding the spear. Amoka runs to the forest, determined to find answers. She finds Kofi, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. Kofi and Amoka face the restless spirits of the forest together. Kofi uses his father's spear to control the storm and protect the village. The spirits demand a sacrifice to be appeased. Amoka offers herself, but Kofi refuses. He tells her to go and not look back. Once he knows she is safe, Kofi stands at the edge of the storm-ravaged forest, his dark green and brown hunter's tunic soaked through from the relentless rain. His muscular frame is tense, his glowing red eyes burning with determination as he grips his long hunting spear with both hands. With a powerful roar, he drives the spear deep into the earth, the impact sending a shockwave rippling through the soaked ground. The moment the spear strikes, a blinding bolt of lightning crashes down from the heavens, illuminating the entire scene in a flash of white-blue light. The storm rages around him, trees bend violently, rain pounds the earth, and wind howls like a chorus of restless spirits. The villagers watching from afar shield their eyes, their faces reflecting awe and fear as they witness the power surging through Kofi. The ground trembles, the energy from the spear forming a protective barrier between the village and the wild, untamed forces of the forest. Kofi remains kneeling, one hand still gripping the spear, his breathing heavy, his body weakened but resolute. In the distance, Amoka stands soaked and heartbroken, watching him, knowing that this moment has changed everything. Amoka, seeing Kofi fall, despite his request, she runs and returns to his side. Kofi, weakened but resolute, tells Amoka he must remain in the forest to ensure the spirits stay calm. She tells him she will never let him go again. He pleads for her to remember their bond and to live her life fully. Amoka walks slowly through the rain, her gold-beaded braids heavy with water, her vibrant traditional attire darkened and clinging to her skin. The storm still rumbles overhead, but the lightning has begun to fade, leaving only the soft glow of distant lanterns from the village ahead. Her bare feet sink into the wet earth, each step feeling heavier than the last. Her shoulders are slumped, her head slightly bowed, but her eyes remain distant, lost in thought. The rain drips from her lashes, blending with the silent tears that fall freely down her cheeks. Behind her, the forest stands eerily still, as if watching her go. The shadows of the trees seem to stretch toward her, reaching, longing. But she does not turn back. The village lights flicker in the distance, but they do not bring her comfort. She is going home, but she has left something behind. Amoka stands at the center of the village, her rain-soaked clothes clinging to her, the gold beads in her hair glistening under the flickering torchlight. The villagers, young and old, men and women, are still dressed in their traditional attire from earlier in the day. They gather around her, their faces etched with fear and curiosity. Her eyes are heavy with sorrow, yet her voice remains steady as she speaks. She looks at them, her gaze filled with unspoken pain, and finally says, "Kofi is our guardian now." The villagers murmur among themselves, their whispers a mix of relief, confusion, and lingering fear. Some glance nervously toward the dark forest beyond, while others clutch their loved ones closer. The storm has passed, but the air is thick with uncertainty. The soft glow of the torches cast long shadows across their faces, reflecting the weight of Amoka's words. She stands tall, but there is a deep sadness in her eyes, knowing she has left a part of herself behind in the forest with him. The old women of the village look deep into Amoka's face, her rich brown skin glowing softly under the fading light. Her deep, expressive eyes gaze into the distance, reflecting a mix of hope, sorrow, and uncertainty. Droplets of rain still cling to her lashes and golden beads, remnants of the storm that just passed. And while everyone else can't help but wonder what looms over the horizon for the village and what the future holds, Amoka's thoughts are more personal. As the wind gently lifts strands of her damp hair, her mouth parts ever so slightly. And with a subtle tremble of her lips, she asks a question, trusting it will be delivered by the night air. She whispers, "What does the future hold for us, Kofi?"